Hey guys, how's everything going with you? VaulSC here. We're going to take a look at another game of infiNity. Today's game is going to be special. It's going to be the first game that I'll be playing with Invincible Army, the new Yuching sectorial which has just come out. My opponent playing the old classic Caledonian Scots, so it'll be a battle of the sectorials, and we're going to be playing a game of capture and protect, I believe is the scenario, so go grab the other guy's beacon and hold on to it. I've made a bit of a tradition of going into army lists to start the report off, so let's just jump straight into that, and we'll crank out some Invincible Army first. So let's just have a look. If you've been paying attention to some of my previous videos, you may have noticed that I've been making a lot of fuss about this new tactical awareness rule. It's a rule where your individual model, if it has that rule on the profile, tactical awareness, you can spend, an order allocated specifically to that guy, like in a regular order, and only that model can use it, but it can be used for the link team that model is in, which allows you to effectively have a list which can produce maybe 15, 16, more orders than that even, in a single combat group, which is crazy. So let's have a look at my take on that for today. Running the classic Shang-Chi hacker, not the Shang-Chi hacker, the Shang-Chi Spitfire. This guy, the Shang-Chi model is a model that was originally in the old classic Yuching starter set for many years ago, and when I first got into infiNity I used him for a few games because that was like one of the only models I had, but then he stayed on the shelf like forever. But he's back because he can be part of a link team now, and he has the tactical awareness rule, which is the key standout thing we're going to be looking for. I've got the Haidao hacker. Liking this guy because he comes along with the link and he can sustain 2 wounds before dying. He's effectively, 2 wounds because of shock immunity plus NWI, but he brings along that killer hacker device. Now, if you're moving out through the table and you accidentally run into hacking range of some enemy troops, well, one of your Zuyongs has got that deflector level 2, but you don't want to have to spend order after order after order being hacked because, that can really be a problem. The Haidao hacker allows you to sort of fight back against them, and the really strong thing about him is that even though he's got no BTS, he can make use of the deflector within the link team when he's doing his killer hacking. So if he's hitting you with a red rum, you're going to be suffering from the deflector, if you choose to hack him back, that is. If you're just resetting, then no big deal. But if an enemy hacker is trying to fight back against him, they're having to suffer the red rum penalty as well as the 10-bot penalty. So that's generally why he's there. Then you got the combi rifle Zuyong with the tactical awareness. Want that in there because he's got the deflector and the tactical awareness, obviously, to help move the link around. Then 2 of the beautiful HMG tactical awareness guys, because they're going to be forming the meat of the fire team itself. Got a doctor in there, very important because there are going to be a lot of games where you're not actually just going to be charging over to their deployment zone. You want to just stay back in your deployment zone, shoot all of the ARO pieces, hunker down, wait for a little bit, and then in your second or third turn move out and do a lot more killing with your tactical awareness grunt. So the doctor's important there because if you're firing at a TR bot or a Kamal MSV sniper on a link team, for example, you might lose the face-to-face roll. You might get a crit you might suffer a crit, I should say. So the doctor is really essential to heal you up there. I've taken 2 Yao Zhaos just because this list worked out to be quite awkward with the points. I had 6 points left, so I took 2 of them. That's not bad because the doctor can also use the Yao Zhao to go out and clear out mines and traps and things. Or she can cover 2 different parts of the board with the the potential healing, so you can revive your Zhanchi hacker, which I've got here, or your Zuyongs, or maybe support one of the Zhenchas. So it's not terrible. Zhanchi Lieutenant, very obvious. Zhanchi hacker. I questioned the use of this guy. I was having trouble slotting the right points into this list, and I'm pretty sure I could come up with something better if I had more time. But the only thing the Zhanchi hacker really helps with is that if you really feel like your killer hacker and your 10 bot still isn't enough, you can put fairy dust down to help out the Zuyongs. But also, it's quite a good protection for hack transport against drop troopers, which is a lot better now. One thing you don't really want to have happen to you is to have this list outmaneuvered by drop troopers coming down your back lines, killing your lieutenant, killing your hacker, killing your doctor, just surrounding your link team, picking it apart, so at least you've got that defense. And then 2 Zhenchas here, they're the infiltrating specialists of this, sectorial. They're quite good. I prefer the Guilang, but you don't have access to them in the sectorial, so I'm going to grab 2 of these guys. They are quite beefy up in the midfield, really decent troops. They are probably not the best choice for capture and protect, since it's not really a very button-pressing sort of mission. But I'm designing a list here which I'd be comfortable to use in a wide variety of scenarios, not, you know, just making a list for a single particular mission, because that's not really how it works in a multi-game tournament, if you know what I'm saying. So we'll see how it goes. Just a quick run through of my opponent's Caledonia list. This is just roughly assembled from memory. As you can see, it's 308 points. I can't remember, you know, which actual profiles he took. This is just the closest approximation. So what he's trying out here is he's got the Highlander Grey, you know, core link with the Volunteers, and then he's got the Scotsguard link, which Wallace can join. And there are 2 fire team cores, and his thinking is that he'll start out with the Scots as the core link with the missile launcher, you know, set up there, and then he'll switch over to the Grey Rifle with a command token to start offensively, you know, shooting things. So that's what he's going for. Of course, with Wallace there, you want heaps of Highlanders, Cameronian, Cataran. All of these are turned into regular orders. Uxie McNeil for the, you know, the aggression on the other side of the table. Yeah, and an SAS trooper, so pretty cool list. You know, I like in principle the idea of swapping between core links. It's something I do a lot in Imperial Service and sometimes in Morats. But yeah, it just requires a bit of technical thinking in terms of planning ahead and working out where best to spend your command tokens. So this is roughly what he has, but not exactly his list. Okay, here's a little bit of a sort of a visual sort of my side of the table, how many orders I've got, but you can see all those irregular tokens out in the midfield there next to some of my models, actually showing you where the tactical awareness tokens are. I'm using Wu Ming to represent Zuyong, since I don't have a lot of Zuyong models. I've got one, and this guy here, the pheasant, is actually standing in for the Hai Dao. Battlefield as follows. Let's just have a little bit of a draw over it. Grab myself a pen. How about we go for a nice red? So deployment zone over here, deployment zone over here. We're going to have Ariadne on this side and Invincible Army on this side. Remember, they're going to be 2 objectives, one here and one here, and you've basically got to go over the other side of the table, grab the beacon, and run away and be safe with it. Your data tracker yields you more points if the data tracker is the one holding the beacon at the end of the game. There's also one classified, which could potentially be worth 2 points, I think. And I think you can get further bonus points for bringing the beacon back to your deployment zone. So pretty simple sort of mission. My deployment this is the left-hand side of the table from my perspective. So we've got a Zanchi hacker here. And the link team is set up here. We'll get a photo of them in a minute. And my lieutenant on the far side on the right. And I'm going to have a Zenshar in the building on this section here. So there you can see the Zenshar just set up here. My opponent's going to have his link team in this building, or potentially one of these buildings, I'm feeling like. So the Zenshar might have an opportunity to move in and fire a submachine gun at either close range or medium range. And Zenshar's not bad at shooting, so, and also can sustain, you know, 1 wound before dropping down. So pretty good. Let's talk about the link team. So we're starting out with the HMG as the link leader up here. He's also in range of the combi rifle guy over here behind the beacon itself. Shang-Chi at the back, Hai Dao in the middle, and the other HMG guy over here. So the squad's ready to move out. Doctor over here with Helperbot this side and this side, just to make it much more likely that I'll be able to move either the Doctor herself or one of the Helperbots to within range of one of the unconscious bodies, wherever it may land. On the right hand side, you can see my very obvious lieutenant hanging out over here. One good thing about him is that he'll be able to sort of step out around the corner in the last turn of the game and just cover off the beacon, because you don't really need the lieutenant to survive at that point. I've managed to win the lieutenant role, and I've opted to take first turn. First turn's so important for this kind of list, because you want to do as much damage as possible, potentially with that, you know, 16 order rollout or whatever number you've got. It's 10 orders plus, I think, 4 tactical awareness. Yeah, it's 4, so it's 14 orders is the style I'm running with this list. Of course, you can have more. You can fill your entire list up with tactical awareness dudes, but at a certain point, it's diminishing returns, and you won't really get a lot done beyond a certain threshold, where I believe it's about 15, maybe 16. Okay, so my opponent is now putting a superior infiltrating camo marker next to the position of the Zenshar. We know that's going to be Uxie McNeil. The roll is passed successfully, by the way. So, having a look here. This is the right side of his deployment zone, and Wallace is set up right there. He is going to be joining the link with 1, 2, 3, 4 Scots guards. Note that this particular model here is the missile launcher, and he's going to have a brilliant field of view right through the table there, and especially where the Yuching are going to be moving through the middle. So that's his coverage, and he's got a couple of Galwegians right at the back there. And you can also notice that the Volunteer and Grey Rifle Link team are in the center. So let's have a closer look at them. Oh, he's also put a SAS Trooper up in the building here. This is going to be able to move across the bridge over to my side. Note that my Link team's set up over this side, so he might be able to get a downwards, bird's eye view with his SAS Trooper from that angle there too. Right, okay, so Grey Rifle is right in here, and he's positioned such that once he's made the link leader, he's going to be able to pick up 1, 2, 3, 4 volunteers in this sort of range. So they're going to be in this range here, and he's going to be able to hopefully shoot anything in this direction. Then we'll get another Galwegian far across to the left-hand side of the table. So my reserve trooper is another Zenshar right here. Notice that he's underneath the passage here where Uxie is set up, and the other Zenshar is down the stairs there. The reason I've set him up here is because I want to be able to potentially apply pressure to the Link team with the Zenshar. Now, I've sort of done a bit of a fake out here. I've deployed the Zuyong in a position where it sort of implies that I'm just going to walk across the battlefield and attack, but he may not be expecting me to spend the early orders on the Zenshar instead. Also, there's some room for the Zenshar to spend maybe 3 or 4 orders to attack, and then for the Link team to still have another 10 orders to actually go get some work done after the Zenshar's done the job. So the strategy here is to move the Zenshar up, go up the stairs, and actually lay a mine and attack the missile launcher at the same time, and hopefully eliminate him, thus taking some of the pressure off the Zuyongs, because if they lose a face-to-face roll against the Scott missile, then I might lose an HMG right off the bat, which is not really great. Wouldn't be a good start. To counter that, he's put his Cameronian down behind this little wall here. He thought about going prone, but he made the correct decision to not go prone, and now the Cameronian can just throw some Discovers at the Zenshar, and then once the Zenshar's revealed, start throwing grenades at him, which can, either cost me more orders, or potentially kill the Zenshar, or just slow me down. So we'll see how that works out. Alright, just choosing data trackers now, so my Shang-Chi is going to be the data tracker, hopefully being the one ending with the beacon by the end of the game, and then we're off. He's chosen William Wallace as his data tracker, by the way. So Zenshar moving forward, and what I'm hoping for here is that either he makes the wrong decision with his arrows or fails to discover check. He's got a Galwegian right over here, which unfortunately gets a discover long range at me, and McMurray delaying as well. So the Discover, unfortunately, rolls a 7, which is a critical hit from the Galwegian, and the Zenshar is revealed, which is a little bit annoying. I wanted to be able to just keep moving up the stairs without having to spend additional orders. So that's what happens. Using a Tanko model to represent the Zenshar, since there is no Zenshar model available. So Tanko has to move in here. He's now out of line of sight of the Galwegian, but he's got the Cameronian to deal with. So we're in a situation where the Cameronian throws a grenade at me, and the Zenshar fires the submachine gun back. And annoyingly, the Zenshar loses and gets hit by a grenade and suffers a wound, which was annoying. It was really annoying. So puts him into NWI. Now that he's out of line of sight, he's able to spend an entirely new order to go back into camo state and then start walking up the stairs. So he does that. Then he lays a mine. Just have to show very carefully that the line of sight from this guy's base will go right across this little angle here. So I'm moving right up to a point, and I'm prone, mind you, because you can see the prone marker down here. Moving right up to the point where I haven't yet come into line of sight of that Scot. Then I'm laying a mine, which I'm allowed to do, and the mine's physical size here is going to allow me to either throw the blast template down that way, although we know we're not going to do that because I'm actually going to do this, and it will hopefully affect him and the missile launcher up the top right there. So that's the strategy. Puts down the mine, and then after that he's able to stand up and put them in a situation where, okay, if they dodge, he shoots them with the SMG, and if they shoot back at him, well, 2 guys are going to get hit by the mine's impact. So what ends up happening here, infuriatingly, is that both of the Scots, because they choose to shoot, and both of the Scots pass their armor save against the mine, which was frustrating. Like, not just the missile launcher, but the other friend as well. So there's still going to be a 5-man link, which was just, ugh. And then the SMG going off against the missile launcher. The missile launcher actually beats the Zenshar in the face-to-face roll. No, he doesn't. He loses, but one of the bullets gets through, and he still passes the armor save, and the other two guys shoot the Zenshar, and he dies. So I've now spent, 4 to 5 orders of my turn, and I've killed absolutely nothing. So you can imagine the smoke coming out of my ears and my face going red, and I'm just like swearing and stuff. And that's literally what was happening at the table. I was making an ass of myself. Fuck this, fuck that. I hate this game. But it's what it is. So moving out now with the Zuyongs, going to plan B, and maybe arguably this is something I should have just done right off the bat. Moving right over here and setting up the HMG in a position where he can come to this wall and then retain cover and fire at the Scots from that position. So if he loses the face-to-face roll and dies, I'm going to be down on HMG. What actually happens is that I think the first volley of shots doesn't actually kill the Scot because he passes his armor save or something crazy, and then the second order does kill him. But by now I've burnt through so many orders that even if I were to make a lot of use of the tactical awareness, the only smart thing to do here is just to fall back and wait for turn 2, because I'm not going to get enough done. So sadly, first turn's gone terribly, but everybody else moving back after reaching this position, pulling back here, and we're going to set up a situation where I've moved one of my HMGs up the ladder up to here, and he's going to be able to provide arrows. The decision to do this is based on the fact that he'll get to shoot against the Cameronian and a couple of the Galwegians as they move out, potentially damaging them. And unfortunately, the Grey Rifle HMG will be able to shoot back at me, but I'm hoping that I won't take more than 2 wounds and the Doctor will be able to revive the HMG. It's a bit of a risk, but sometimes you need to risk a little bit when you are sort of on the back foot and when you're losing a little bit. So that's what we're going to be trying to do. I mean, he's pretty resilient. It is an AP HMG with 5 dice, 16s versus 16s, but I'm just hoping that he won't, get outright 3 wounds on me, right? So we'll see how that develops. Okay, and there, I believe, is their final position, just setting up. We've also got the Zuyong over here with the combi rifle. He's actually going to be able to get line of sight along this alleyway. There's nothing really very powerful coming around there, but he's going to be able to cut that part of the table off for like volunteers and the other Galwegian over there, just to be suffered the arrows from the combi rifle. It's not that bad when you be a 16 with 2 dice, so he can at least be useful at that spot. Okay, so we're on turn 1 for Galwegians and the Caledonia in general. So Galwegian moving forward, not making it into line of sight. On this side of the table, on the right-hand corner, a couple more of them moving forward and trying to throw smoke grenades to cover the Cameronian's advance. Cameronian does move out. I have positioned my HMG there, getting a shot off on him. I believe this does inflict a single wound onto the Cameronian, and then when he continues to move out, he does get some smoke placed down. Alright, so command token is spent. The link is moved over to the Grey Rifle with volunteers. He does take up this position here behind cover and is now able to fire at the Zuyong HMG over here. So there's a battle. It is 5 dice on 16s versus 2 dice on 16s. And it's HMG with an armor-piercing round versus just your normal HMG. So what happens here is that the Zuyong predictably loses, suffers a single wound, and opts to drop prone. So the thinking here is that, okay, I've already gained some value out of him by getting some shots off against the Galwegians and the Cameronian. I've stripped a wound off the Cameronian, so that's a start. Now that the Grey Rifle's in a position to shoot me, there's no point hanging around and continuing to stand up to his firepower when I've only got 1 wound left. So I'm going to go prone and continue to keep the 5-man link team attacked, which is a lot more important at this stage. Cameronian, now that the arrows have been cleared out, is taking a super jump up onto the platform here. His plan is to go after the Zenshar, apparently. So that's what we're going to be seeing next. So first of all, throwing down a smoke grenade here. This is just to continue to keep himself safe against the link team. As he comes further forward to the edge of that platform, he will run into fresh arrows such as the Shang-Chi. Doesn't want that to happen, so he's starting with that. Next up, moving into line of sight of the Zenshar with his first short skill, Zenshar chooses to not react at all, which then allows the Cameronian to do a discover shoot. He is at close range and he does have some decent willpower, so the Zenshar responding with a anti-personnel mine. The thinking behind this is that if the mine is lucky enough to destroy the Cameronian, if he fails to dodge, for example, later on, he only has 1 wound left, so that will shut his run down. Also, if the Cameronian throws a grenade at me, well, I've got NWI, and if he fires both chain rifles at me, well, I might be able to pass 1 or more of those armor saves and keep the Zenshar up to, prolong this push as long as possible. So that's the plan. He responds with double chain rifle, and the Zenshar does indeed pass 1 of the armor saves and goes into NWI again. Uxie McNeil now is positioned here, so she is going to be able to move to just carefully to the edge of the corner here and fire at the Zenshar. She does have some assault pistols, so easily able to take down the Zenshar. She does have a boarding shotgun as well, but the assault pistols were the choice in this particular instance, and the Zenshar is removed. Because she's prone, she's able to wriggle it so that she can't actually get line of sight to the mine, because the mine itself is actually also blocked by the position of the Zenshar itself in this instance. So that's what ends up happening there. Cameronian now moving out. He does indeed attempt to dodge the mine. He fails his dodge check, but then passes his armor save. So the mine goes off, but does not destroy the Cameronian. And then you can see my opponent sort of with his hand in the photo blurring away, but it does reach this position, and he's going to go after the hacker on the left-hand side of the table. Pulls around here into close combat. The hacker tries to shoot at him with the combi rifle. It's a face-to-face roll, and the Cameronian wins, and the hacker goes down. And then the Cataran adds insult to injury by standing up and having a bit of a snipe at the HMG model, which are positioned carefully in the corner of this building. So it's Cataran versus HMG. But this is one instance where I feel like my opponent's actually making an error. The Cataran is, let me just go check the list here. Let me just click on it. He's Ballistic Skill 12. He'll get 2 shots with a sniper rifle. So it'll be the correct range band minus cover, so still at 12, and on 2 dice. Whereas the HMG's firing at 2 dice as well, on 16s, plus minus for range and cover, and then minus 3 for the camouflage, or mimetism we should say in this case. But he ignores surprise shot because of the link team. So it's 2 dice on 13s on my side versus 2 dice on 12s on his side. Yes, the T2 rifle will crush that model, but the odds aren't great for him. I think the correct play is to stand the Cataran up, wait for them to just do nothing, and then just leave the camouflage marker there, because in the Invincible Army's turn, they have to spend more resources discovering him and shooting him. So that's worth more to the Caledonian side than potentially, maybe, getting a kill in the active turn. So there you have it. That's my thought on it. What ends up happening is he does reveal, does shoot, and the Zuyong does win the shootout. So finally, a little bit of good luck going back my way. It's about time. He still has an SAS trooper, which is now moving over the bridge. I've got guys who can discover him, but by the time he's discovered, he drops prone here, and then is able to stand up and actually assault this this HMG here. Now he is getting shot back at by the Zuyong and the HMG himself, and very luckily, and I say, luckily, the pistol shots from the HMG shooting back, and actually, although I lose the face-to-face roll, he does manage to tank the armor save. So the SAS trooper not successful in taking the link down. This is a 5-man link, but it is an assault pistol, so I did get a little bit lucky there to survive. So my first turn, I've had some really, really bad luck. His first turn, he's had some stuff go as expected, but also some unlucky stuff as well, in terms of the SAS and the Cataran at least. Okay, and elsewhere, just shifting his troops around, repositioning his Galwegian, and generally throwing some smoke grenades, coming back behind cover, using some coordinated orders from William Wallace's inspiring leadership, and then it's back over to me. What I decided to do here is I decided to split the link up. There was a situation where if I'd activated this model here, there would have been other models out of coherency anyway. And if I stand up with the HMG, well, I'm still being looked at by a grey rifle, so I don't really want to face the SAS and the grey rifle in the same turn. So I decided to use the tactical awareness order from the combi rifle up here to fire at the SS trooper to begin with. The first volley of shots, I do not manage to kill him, so that was annoying. So I had to spend yet another order shooting at him, but I finally did manage to bring him down. So that's one SAS trooper out of the way. What I can do now is I can reform the link, and this is a bit of a risk. So the HMG over here actually standing up and moving down the stairs, and this is going to mean that when he fires at the Grey Rifle is going to be hitting on 19s because the Zuyong won't have any cover, and I'll be 16s on 5 dice. So I'm hoping there that if I do sustain a wound, the Doctor will be able to revive me, and hopefully I don't take, you know, both hits to the face and die. Let's hope that doesn't happen. It's just that I want to be kind of careful with my orders here. I probably could have gone prone, crawled all the way down there and come back over, but I was really short on orders and there was a lot that I wanted to do. Also quite important that I'm moving the HMG over here while this movement's taking place. I need to be able to move him out and actually shoot at the Cameronian in my deployment zone. That's going to be quite important, so just positioning for the next order, and everybody else moving over here to try and get general coherency happening, right? So luckily what does happen is that the Grey Rifle does get shot and does get removed by my HMG with his full 5 dice. And then I'm able to shift the link lead over to this guy at the back. He's able to move just far enough to be able to shoot at the Cameronian way at the back there, which does eliminate the Cameronian. When you're hitting on 19 dice, even when he's grenading on a 19, the odds are in my favor, so that does strip him of his final wound, and we can keep on going. So the Yuching forces here, Invincible Army, moving back to their original position now. And note that I'm quite short on orders in general, and I still have a beacon to collect, and this is my second turn. But I've decided now I've removed some of his teeth. I've got rid of the Great Rifle, I've got rid of the Cameronian, I've got rid of the SAS Trooper, I've got rid of his missile launcher. There's very few things left in his army which can actually come out and contest me. And then maybe in my final turn, I can spend all of those tactical awareness orders moving over, grabbing the beacon, and setting up shop with the data tracker, Shang-Chi, holding it. So that's generally my sort of desperate plan at this point. I've positioned my HMG in a spot where he'll be able to see Uxia McNeil if she moves out from a hiding spot. She will be able to go camo, but at least I can slow him down. At this point, the HMG is taking a further shot at, I cannot remember who it was, one of his Scots Guards or something like that. Anyway, he does get knocked unconscious due to even more bad luck on my part. Honestly, I can't remember who he was shooting at. Maybe he was shooting at one of the volunteers, or maybe this was the order where he fires at the Grey Rifle. Anyway, he does get knocked unconscious. The Doctor is required to move up and revive him, which he does manage to do. And then he goes for another shot at it and does kill whoever he was shooting. It may have been at this point in the game that I was firing at the Grey Rifle. Can't fully remember. What might have even happened is that the HMG moves out. Okay, so probably what happened, my memory's hazy. Probably what happened is the HMG starts here, moves out down to cover, fires at the Grey Rifle, loses the shootout but passes the armor save. Then we go over and kill the Cameronian, and then we come back to this position here to finally take on the Grey Rifle, and the Grey Rifle wins. Then the HMG's revived, and now I can continue moving him. So by the end of the turn, we get him up to this topmost position in the tower next to the SAS, and he's got a much better field of view of the battlefield. There aren't any, heavy weapons left in the Scottish army, so this is going to really help me defend my beacon and my position, really, from the Caledonian forces. We'll see him use the marksman rifle from the Scots soon, but that'll be out of range as well. Note that there is a corpse of an SAS trooper there. My classified for this turn is, for this game, is data scan. So what I could have done is use the hideout here to actually data scan the corpse of the SAS trooper, but I was just literally out of orders. I was expecting to have more orders, but things went wrong that turn, as you can see. Had to use the Doctor. Okay, so there's the final position. We've got the Shang-Chi here. So he's actually got line of sight through here. He's going to be able to cover that corner when the Galwegian comes around. Note that that's what happens in the Caledonian turn. This guy's standing up, so the Zuyong's got his combi rifle across that angle and also able to see, some of what's on to the left. Hideout at the back, and of course our beautiful HMG at the top, with a bird's eye view of most of the battlefield from that position, which is great. So Galwegian does move around here, but does get shot at. Over the other side, he's got another one at the far distance, being shot at again by the HMG's position through this line here. I believe some of them managed to get smokes off, others of them not so lucky. He's moved a lot of his orders to one single combat group since he started to lose quite a few of them. One of these, you know, spare volunteers moving through the left-hand flank of the battlefield to try and set something up. He does have a chain rifle. So going for a long hike across the battlefield. The Zuyongs and everybody have line of sight through here, but he's able to get through around this side. What is he up to? My opponent realizing now that though he gets to this spot, runs out of orders, but this is not a bad place to be because by being in this position, when I ultimately move past here with the team to go after the beacon, he's going to be able to slow me down with a shotgun or a chain rifle and just force me to spend an order removing him. So it's not the worst idea in the world. He will lose an order for the final turn of the game, but it does slow me down going after the beacon, so probably worth it. Okay, so what's happening now is he's sort of making some plays which are a bit bold, a bit reckless, and he doesn't necessarily need to. He's not necessarily losing here. Reforming the Scots Guard link, he decides to move these guys down the stairs, and this is in full view of the, just move my camera, full view of the HMG guy over here is able to fire across down this little line. So the HMG, I believe, is just barely out of range, but he's shooting at a target which will not have cover, whereas the marksman rifle will be shooting at long range in a 4-man link and against a target in cover, so it's a bit desperate. And what happens here is, predictably, the Scot loses the shootout, the Zuyong does beat him up with the HMG, and his link team goes down. So not really the most advisable thing. We now have some Galwegians moving out with smoke, laying down an opportunity for William Wallace to move over this side and get smoke through this angle. He's going to actually be able to throw 2 smoke grenades once he reforms the link. So right here. He is going to be up against, again, the HMG, but the HMG not able to beat the smoke rolls. When you're in a link team and you're getting +1 burst and you've got pretty decent physical, it's pretty easy to get the smoke grenades down, so we have a smoke blocking off the HMG for the rest of this turn. So he can now move out into position, and what's happening is he's moving the Scots plus William Wallace around this angle, and he's basically going to set up shop around this side of the table, because in the turn after this, in his final turn, he's going to be able to make a push for the beacon, which is what the mission's really all about. As you can see here, William Wallace moving up to order a cup of coffee. I wish I could do an appropriate Scottish accent for that, but here he is. You've got the twin SMG guy covering fire as everybody, waits for their order. Maybe he's pointing at the shopkeeper and making certain demands of him. But there you go. That's William Wallace's place for the next turn. Alright, so moving over to Invincible Army for the final rollout, and this has got to be a strong turn. I've only got 6 orders, really. There's a 4-man link team because one of my HMGs has been shot, and yeah, my coverage of what happened last turn, again, was inaccurate. It was hazy. One of the HMGs gets shot by the Grey Rifle, I believe, and dies, and I had to bring in the other HMG to come around and shoot him, which I believe got knocked unconscious, and then the doctor revived him. So turn 1 and 2, a lot of bad luck. Let's just put it that way. But I've got a 4-man link team at this point, plus a doctor, plus a lieutenant. That's 6 orders, and then 3 of the link team have tactical awareness tokens. So we've effectively got 9 orders maximum. Moving out. So what's happening first is I've got an HMG up the top here who becomes a link leader, so he can fire at one of these straggling Scots who didn't manage to make it into cover. Once the smoke clears, HMG guns him down. Then we move the Zuyong into range of this this volunteer here, who opts to go for the shotgun, which gives him +6 at close range. But Zuyong, ballistical 13 plus close range, also hitting on 16s, but with 4 dice. And luckily, the Zuyong manages to kill him. If that hadn't worked out for me, it would have cost even more orders to do this. So, a little bit lucky there. So after the link team now moves out, they become a 3-man link team because the HMG's up on top of a walkway, can't really join them. So what we're trying to do here is move the Shangji to a point where the Galwegian can't quite see me yet. Then we're going to bust in here, hopefully destroy the Galwegian, and honestly, if we can't kill him, it's going to be really hard to win this game. But what happens next is the Zanji moves through, the Shangji moves through, excuse me, and it's basically Spitfire +1 burst to 5 dice against the Galwegian, and I believe the first volley of shots doesn't kill him, I think, because he throws a smoke grenade and it blocks most of the shots, but doesn't win the face-to-face roll, and the Shang-Chi doesn't quite take him down. So the Shang-Chi, again, trying to move through, does blast him with the second round. He does go for the chain rifle shot. It does indeed strip a wound off the Shang-Chi. So in his final turn, if he can just get 1 wound onto the Shang-Chi, then I will lose, most likely. Or at least it'll be a draw. But the Shang-Chi does rip up the Galwegian, and then there are like 3 orders left, literally. So what I did with my move is I came in here so that there would be a distance of 2 inches between my base and the objective. The reasoning behind that is that in my short school, I can move 2 inches towards the objective and then 2 inches back. That's optimum, because then I can pick up the beacon, and then after that, we can move away to safety. And because I'll only have 2 orders for moving to safety, I have to find a spot that's within 16 inches and will optimally protect my Shang-Chi and the Link team, but also defend. So the position I've chosen is next to this truck. So I've taken the beacon and moved over here. The point of having this position is that I'll have arrows to this side of the building when he moves out with his Galwegian in his final turn. I'll also have arrows from the Shang-Chi over here to where my beacon is, so if he goes to pick up my beacon, I'll be able to see it. The Haidao part of the Link team here, able to provide shotgun coverage through here. It's going to be easy to kill the Haidao, but if he goes after the Haidao, then he's going to have to spend a lot of orders stripping him down 2 wounds effectively, so that won't be ideal. And the Zuyong, really importantly, able to cover this section of the board where he may come around this side to take on the Shang-Chi, but also, of course, the Zuyong can actually cover my deployment zone as well. So this is the best spot I could find, but now we have to turn over to my opponent. Well, actually, we don't have to do that just yet. I've got a lieutenant order to spend, and the lieutenant moves out here so he can also cover the home base beacon. Note that the doctor is still standing up since she went over to revive one of my Zuyongs, so she has coverage of it as well. So I feel like, given my limited resources, I've still set up quite a sturdy defense here. So, he's moved all of his last orders into one group, and he has a pool of about 6 or 7 left. But he didn't have enough command tokens to move his last Galwegian, so this Galwegian is in its own group, moves over here with his impetuous towards the Shang-Chi, and gets shot at by the Zuyong and the HMG here, who don't manage to kill him, but the Galwegian has literally no orders left to spend, so he's basically a non-factor in this game. So we can move on beyond him. Alright, so the Caledonian plan is to move Wallace around the back flank, the back deployment zone, to rotate around and pick up my beacon, and if he can do that, well, Wallace will have the beacon, he'll be the data tracker. He has forgotten that my Shang-Chi is also the data tracker, even though I've got a little bright orange token that says data tracker next to the Shang-Chi. So if Wallace does that plan, the game will be a draw. If somehow Wallace actually shoots the Shang-Chi, kills him, and grabs the beacon, then it will be a resounding win to him. His alternative way of doing this is to go after the Shang-Chi, but he's elected to run in there with Wallace. So Wallace coming right around the side here. To avoid the HMG shots, he gets some smoke grenades down in advance, and then he's starting to move in. This model is just placed in a position where he could potentially go to. He doesn't quite move out there just yet, but after looking at all of the options, we spent a while thinking about this. Wallace can move up here and basically move out of the cloud and go grab the beacon, but he'll get shot, and he'd be shot at by an HMG with 2 dice, no, HMG with 1 dice, Shang-Chi with 2 dice, both of the Zhanchis with 1 dice each. So surviving that's not great. Another way to go is to come around here past the smoke cloud and continue making a train of smoke grenades around to the objective and then going and grabbing it. It's just quite order intensive, and he might run out of orders. What he does elect to do is actually walk up into the cloud and throw specular smoke onto the objective, but he fails his first attempt at it, and with only a couple of orders left, realizes that he may run out. I mean, he's spec firing on I think an 11, because I think he's physical 14. Let me just double check that. I've got it right here. So physical 14 plus 3 for short range minus 6 for speculative fire means it's an 11. So his first attempt fails, and with the second attempt, being a bit precarious, he does indeed decide to move out and try and grab it. Actually, no. What he does instead is he moves out and instead of throwing the smoke grenade, decides to go after the Shang-Chi. I think what initially happens is he goes out and attempts to face-to-face them all with a smoke grenade, but when he gets shot at by the Shang-Chi, the Zhu Yong, the other Zhu Yong, no, it's actually one Zhu Yong. I better point out that this Zhu Yong here doesn't have line of sight because his arc is around this side, but there is a guy on top of the building, right? So he gets shot at by the Shang-Chi, the Zhu Yong with HMG, and both Sanshis, and he throws a smoke grenade to defend, and ends up not dying to that, because the smoke grenade roll blocks a lot of the shots. So he doesn't die, but in his final move, instead of grabbing the objective, because, you know, if he does that, he'll get shot again, he decides to go after the Shang-Chi and try and kill him, to at least get a draw. So this obviously is a desperate move, and unfortunately the Shang-Chi, with his BS-14, +3 for being in the right range band, does manage to destroy Wallace, blasting him down, and it's a fitting return to form for this very classic model. Unfortunately, he needs a resculpt. He's a bit small, but destroying the Caledonians in a very close game, I was really distraught and unhappy with my first turn and a half because it was really going bad for Invincible Army, but we did get there in the end. I must say that tactical awareness, although, you know, I wasn't very showy with it this game, I didn't do my real, you know, bold, you know, walk across the table with 14 orders and kill most of their army, including the lieutenant. I wanted to, but that didn't end up happening. It's still very powerful though, because I had some turns where I split the link up, spent tactical awareness orders for particular models to reposition them, command tokens to get back into the link. You can also drop the link, spend a command token, and move the link leader to a guy who hasn't spent his tactical awareness order yet. It's a really strong rule, a rule that I still think is a little bit too powerful. Again, I've been saying that it's not so powerful that it's better than the best things in the game, and you know, heavy infantry link team is still very vulnerable to hidden deployment missile launchers, but it's still very, very strong, and this is probably one of the better lists that Invincible Army can really run. Not this particular instance of it, just the idea of it, the design of it. If I went back to the drawing board, I'm pretty sure I could come up with a better tactical awareness setup of this limited insertion style for Invincible Army, but, you know, we'll have to see those attempts in future. For now, great game. Invincible Army win in convincing fashion by the end of it. Really hope you enjoy this one. We'll see you again next time.